One of the most common questions that I get every semester is, Kyle, how do I prepare better for completing homework assignments and taking exams? I really want to bring my grade up, so how do I do a better job of preparing? And that's a very good question. So I like to try to address it at the start of each semester so students that want to be really proactive can just get a head start on that right away. Now, one of the things that will be extremely helpful with homework is actually twofold, and I've mentioned this already in a previous video. Staying on pace with the calendar is so crucial. You don't want to fall behind in an online class. It's so much more difficult to catch up. Now, staying online or on pace with the calendar involves not only watching the videos, taking your own notes, but it also involves going to the worksheets that have already been shown and actually using them, practicing with them, checking your answers against the solutions, and making sure that you really understand what's going on. Because when you get questions from the homework assignments, they're going to be like extra worksheet questions, and the only difference is there's no solutions posted for them. But if you've already done a handful of these sorts of questions in the worksheets, and then you just get a handful more in the assignment, if you've practiced a bunch already, the new ones shouldn't be that difficult. So that would be the number one thing I would recommend with the homework. Stay on pace and stay on top of the worksheets. Now, when it comes to exams, there's a couple things that we can do to try to stay a little bit on top of exams and make sure that we are able to perform as well as possible. The first thing I always suggest is to try to begin studying for an exam, like really studying, like maybe having a schedule of what you're going to cover day by day, roughly about a week out from the exam. So if our first exam is going to be here on September 22nd, I would recommend that over here on September 15th, you start thinking about how am I going to really prepare myself for the exam? What am I going to do every day from this point on to make sure I'm well prepared? And I try to build in some extra days where maybe there's just a day where you can review. It's just built into the calendar. There's a day usually dedicated for each exam for you to just review. So those days are available specifically so that you can study. But don't wait till the last minute. If the exam is going to be on Tuesday, don't wait until Monday to start studying. The second thing I would say with exams is that we have to make sure we understand what studying means. A lot of times people will often just read over sections of material or re-look at answers to worksheet questions and kind of nod their head and go, yeah, I think I get the material. And that is not studying. If you want to make sure that you are very well prepared, you have to go ahead and actually sit down with a worksheet or an old homework assignment and actually say, can I do problem number 1 with no assistance? If you can, then great, you're in good shape. And if you can't, then that might be an indication that you need to practice that content more. Because that's what the exam feels like all the time, right? You get a new question, you've never seen it before, can you answer it? So you might be thinking, well, Kyle, how do I know what sorts of things to study? Well, this is why underneath each of the exam materials folders, I have listed out 2 different things. First off, I have the exam review problems, which are just really going to be an extra set of problems to practice with. They're not a copy of the test, they're not giving you any sort of special look as to what the test might have in it, but they are just extra problems in case you've already done the worksheets and all the homeworks and you need maybe something new. You've done those problems too many times. The other thing here, and what's very important, is the study guide. The study guide is going to give you a sense of what the exam is going to look like, what you can expect out of the exam, and also a topic by topic list of all the things that you need to know for the exam. And you can treat this much like a checklist, meaning that if you know how to do every single one of the things on this list, then those are the only types of questions I could possibly ask you on the exam. So if you can do everything on here, you should feel really confident going into the test. Of course, the number one way to build confidence, as always, is with practice. I always give people the following sort of analogy. If I was to ask you to get up in front of, let's say, a stadium of 100,000 people, right, and I had you come up on stage, you're just surrounded by a crowd. I mean, immediately you might start to generally feel nervous. But if I asked you something simple, something that I asked you to perform a task that you've done millions of times before. Say I asked, what's 1 plus 3? Or say I asked, can you please tie your left shoe? right? Like retie your left shoelace. Like these would be tasks that even though you were under immense pressure, you would probably still do pretty well, right? I mean, it doesn't mean you wouldn't maybe slip up but you'd probably be able to do extremely well, right? And part of that's because you really know those ideas. You know how to tie your shoes. You've done that many times. You know what 1 plus 3 is. Basic addition is easy. It's when things are unpracticed and unfamiliar and unrehearsed that they become difficult. So the number one way to really make sure that you're ready to go for an exam, practice a lot. No one has ever left an exam feeling like, darn it, I practiced too much. I think I wasted a lot of time. No, it's usually the other way around. Somebody comes out and goes, darn it, why didn't I study for an hour more? I should have looked over that thing. So if you want to do well in this class, you already know the keys to do it. It's a lot of time and dedication, but it comes with an awesome payoff of if you know how to do everything on the list, you should know how to do everything on the exam. And that can make things really great. So, of course, if you have questions about exams and homeworks, please let me know. I'm always here to help in terms of studying for exams or talking about homeworks, and so please don't ever hesitate to ask me.